What's going on, guys? Hopefully you're having an incredible day. Today I want to bring you a report that there is a new $1,200 stimulus check that could be coming, and it would most likely be coming next week. So I want to bring you that, but first I want to give you some bad news. Yesterday was the worst day for the United States in regards to COVID. The United States reported 218,667 new COVID cases yesterday alone and 3,055 deaths. This is according to Johns Hopkins University. This is the highest daily death count we have had since this pandemic started. So that is not good news. Also, this morning we got a report that we saw 853,000 new jobless claims that were filed last week alone. And when you add in the roughly 400,000 new jobless claims for the self-employed, that means it brings the total to 1.2 million people filed for unemployment benefits last week alone. This is what economists have been warning Congress of for the past few months, is we are going to see a double dip recession very soon. Most economists are predicting it will happen towards the end of January. This is not good news. Now, with that said, you're probably thinking, well, okay, Congress is probably, hard at work trying to get a deal done right now because they see, where the deaths are increasing, the jobless rate is increasing, everything's going under. What are they doing? Well, they're not really doing anything. Congress is actually arguing more now than they were a month ago. Before the election, when Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin were working on a deal, it went very well. They weren't arguing, they were going back and forth, they were trying to negotiate, and things were somewhat optimistic. They didn't ultimately get a deal done, but it came out that Nancy Pelosi was never going to get a deal done before the election. Fine. Well, we're after the election, things could get done, right? Well, now Nancy Pelosi still wants to do state and local government funding, which I think is extremely important. They do need some funding, and roughly $160 billion should be enough to get them kind of back on track. But Mitch McConnell is saying, no, we don't need state and local government funding. We need liability protections. And he is pretty much putting his foot down saying, if there's no liability protections, there's no way we're providing state and local government funding. And Nancy Pelosi is saying, well, if there's no state and local government funding, then we're just not going to provide a bill at all. Now, she did not ultimately come out and say this in those exact words, but that's pretty much what is happening right now. They're fighting over two key issues. And those two key issues, neither one wants to pull them out. Okay, I don't want to say neither one. Mitch McConnell said, let's pull them out. Let's pull both of those out, knowing good and well that Nancy Pelosi was never going to go for that. But he said, let's pull those both out and let's just pass, what we can agree on. Right now, they can't agree on much. So Democrats are blaming Mitch McConnell for sabotaging the stimulus negotiations that the Problem Solvers Caucus is currently going through and getting very close to a deal. And Republicans are blaming Democrats for not negotiating the liability protections fairly. Now, right now, there's not a lot of hope for a stimulus package to happen this week. I say this because getting it passed this week, and pretty much tomorrow, Saturday, or Sunday, is looking less and less likely because today Mitch McConnell, his staff informed reporters that Mitch McConnell will be adjourning the Senate after the votes today. So they're going to go home and they'll return on Monday. Now, Nancy Pelosi said they will continue working through Christmas if they need to. Americans cannot go without any unemployment benefits, which actually expire on December 26th, the day after Christmas, and they can't go without another eviction moratorium, which expires on December 31st. So if they have to work through Christmas, that's what they're going to do. Now, the current reports are that Mitch McConnell won't agree to a stimulus package that doesn't include his form of liability protections. Now, the Problem Solvers Caucus have proposed and have got agreement in principle. Okay, that's it, from both parties. But neither party has seen the text. And this is where Mitch McConnell and his staff are saying that the leader will not agree. Mitch McConnell will not agree to this because they are stripping some of those protections they're taking away some of those protections. So even though he's getting liability protection, it's not essentially the protection that he wanted. So that's one of the things that he is not going to pass. And although it's currently reported that Mitch McConnell is delaying the stimulus, and it's all Mitch McConnell, that Republicans are saying, yes, let's get it done, let's pass it. Mitch McConnell is saying, no, that's not good enough. We can't pass this. We can't accept it. I'm not putting it on the floor. That's what reports are saying. But reports are also indicating that the GOP is on board with Mitch McConnell every step of the way. Reports are saying that Senate Republicans will not go and support another blue state bailout and will vote against any bill that is including that if there's no liability protections the way that they want it. So this means those $1,200 stimulus checks that we're all wanting, they might be delayed. But there is some good news. There's a new bill that could see the floor next week. Right now, Republicans are more supportive of that $916 billion package because it does include a $600 stimulus check. Now, they do like the main parts of that $908 billion package, but they would rather have stimulus checks than $300 per week in unemployment benefits for 4 months. That's currently what the report is saying, is that Republicans, they like both, but if they had to choose between both of those packages, they choose the one with stimulus checks. It will provide more help. It will provide help quicker. It will help stabilize the economy much faster. And that's what's currently needed to stabilize the economy, get people back to work, hopefully get this vaccine out. We should hear sometime today that the FDA is approving the Pfizer vaccine, approving the emergency use authorization. And if that happens, that will be good news. So let's get back to the stimulus check, because that's what everybody wants to know. Is a $600 stimulus check is okay. It will help. But a $1,200 stimulus check, especially to individuals with no dependents, is going to help much more. A $600 stimulus check to somebody that is on their own, single filer, not married, no kids, on their own. $600 is not going to even pay rent in almost every single state. $600 is going to buy food for the month for most individuals. $1,200 is actually seen as a low amount. Most Americans, even President Trump, has stated he wants to see a larger stimulus. That is something like $2,000 or more. Now, I said this before, I'm going to say it again. A $2,000 stimulus check is seen as highly unlikely at this point. It could happen, but not right now. But as far as getting the talks about this $1,200 stimulus check going again, what is currently being reported is Senator Josh Hawley, and he's the one that I mentioned the other day, who actually talked with President Trump over the phone just a few days ago. And President Trump, and he's talked to him multiple times, but President Trump simply reiterated that he wants to see stimulus checks. He supports a $1,200 stimulus check to individuals and $1,200 for their spouses. However, if he was pushed, if he was asked, what do you want? Josh Hawley simply said he could support a $2,000 stimulus check. And that's where the $2,000 stimulus check kind of came about over the last few days. But Josh Hawley, he plans to put a new proposal on the floor of the Senate next week to provide $1,200 stimulus checks to filers and $500 stimulus checks to their dependents. This would be the exact same requirements, exact same stipulation as through the CARES Act. So if you received your first $1,200 stimulus check, you would receive this one as well. Right now, he is saying that if Congress cannot come to an agreement over the weekend, that he has this proposal already done, he will put it on the floor. And it's simply saying he'll put it on the floor for an up-down vote. Now, any senator can do this. Any senator can go and put something on the floor. So that's good news, that at least he's going to push for it. Now, what I can tell you is $1,200 stimulus checks, those are considered an essential item or a priority for Republicans. So, and it's also a priority for Democrats as well. So right now, what's being said is that by putting this on the floor, He believes that many Republicans will support this, hopefully getting a standalone bill for just stimulus checks, if everything else falls apart, could be done. Now, if this is done sometime next week, Steve Mnuchin has stated it's going to take between 7 to 10 days to get stimulus checks out. So if this were to get pushed through, get passed by the Senate, and somehow get passed by the House, and signed into law by President Trump, then we could see stimulus checks as soon as Christmas. So, this is good news. We could see stimulus by Christmas. However, this new proposal, chances are it's not going to pass through the Senate or the House. I say this not because I don't think it's a good proposal. I think this won't pass because right now they are working on getting a more comprehensive bill, that $900+ billion package. And if they can get that over a standalone bill, I think both houses would do that. I think the Senate would do that, and I definitely know the House of Representatives would do that as well. What we do know at this point is that Joe Biden is planning, right now, he is planning to do another round of $1,200 stimulus checks. That will come in January. However, many people cannot wait until January to get another $1,200 stimulus check. We've already been waiting since April. So, the report is right now is that even though Joe Biden plans on doing another round of $1,200 stimulus checks, many people in Congress would love to get that stimulus check out now and possibly have a third stimulus check maybe in February, March, or April. Because reports out right now indicate we are going to be in a double dip recession sometime in January, and this will most likely extend for months. So, just want to keep you informed with that. But right now, the Senate, and again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and say $1,200 stimulus checks aren't coming from Joe Biden, but here's the truth. Everything is going to be dependent on what happens in Georgia. As of right now, the 2 Senate seats up for grabs, one is predicted to go to Republicans, the other one is predicted to go to Democrats. If it goes 1-1, that means Republicans still remain in control of the Senate. Mitch McConnell would still be the majority leader. Chuck Schumer would still be the minority leader, which means for a bill to get passed, it will have to go through Mitch McConnell. That can be very difficult. However, right now, what reports say is that Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell do have a fairly good working relationship. And once Joe Biden is in office, and again, we'll know this next week, whether he will be next president or not, and once that is confirmed, then we'll know, okay, what direction are we going? So, that's what we know right now. But as far as those $1,200 stimulus checks, there's still a lot of people pushing for them. So I'm not going to count them out just yet, because I counted out stimulus checks, and I was saying it's probably a 10%, 15% chance a stimulus check gets included, and then hours later, Mitch McConnell, Steve Mnuchin, President Trump, and Kevin McCarthy come out and say, okay, we're going to add in $600 stimulus checks. So right now, the stimulus checks are actually climbing. They went from nothing to 600. Now, some are pushing for $1,200 stimulus checks. And multiple people in Congress have stated they will not support a bill that does not include a $1,200 stimulus check. Not a $600, a $1,200 stimulus check. So that is some good news. So that right there is what we know regarding stimulus and COVID. But as always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back and share more. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on. And I'll see you guys on the next one.